And here we are. Amon's not going to join us today. He's got a meeting. As we remember, Amon is now a professor, Amon Green, at the University of Nebraska at Lincoln. He's doing some esports stuff there. I think he's doing multiple endeavors there with esports. But first and foremost, thank you to our sponsors, BetOnline AG. BetOnline remains your number one source for all your sports betting needs this season. Everything from the NFL playoffs down to the Super Bowl to pro and college basketball, UFC, MMA, and more. You'll always find the latest odds, team matchup info, player news, and game trends at BetOnline. With live betting options, free contests, and live scores for almost any sport or game imaginable, BetOnline is truly the fastest and easiest way to bet all of your favorite leagues and events. So head to the website today or use your mobile device to join and receive your 50% welcome bonus with your first deposit. Make sure to use your promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, to receive your rewards. BetOnline.ag, where the game starts. I wanted to start here. We're going to talk a little bit about the Super Bowl, obviously, but I want to start with this. The Pro Bowl, now it's like the Pro Bowl games. The Pro Bowl sucks now, okay? When I was playing, listen, the format we could talk, and I could sit here and complain about the way that people get voted into the Pro Bowl, but the fact that the Pro Bowl is not in Hawaii anymore is just, at least it's not a Camping World in Florida anymore. Elgin Jenkins, I think this week got voted into. So Elgin Jenkins made the Pro Bowl this year, along with Derek Carr, Tyler Huntley. Tyler Huntley had more picks than touchdowns, I believe. And Trevor Lawrence. Jalen Ramsey had his worst season this year, and Jalen Ramsey's going to the Pro Bowl. I'm going to butcher this guy's name, but the center for the Dallas Cowboys, Tyler Biadasz, is now in the Pro Bowl. Jamar Agnew is going to the Pro Bowl instead of our guy Nixon as a returner now, as a backup. And first-team All-Pro linebacker Matt Milano is now invited to the Pro Bowl games. There's a lot to unpack there. I think if you're, it's the problem with the Pro Bowl is from a player's perspective. So here's why I even bring it up, guys, because it really doesn't matter. And it's good. Fans need to be able to vote for it. But unfortunately, when you go to the table with contracts, or your agent goes to the table with the contracts negotiations, except for a couple of positions like quarterback now where they can't figure out what does a middle tier quarterback make, right? But it sounds like they're going to make $50 million now. But everybody else, it's like if you're an all-pro left tackle, you should make 20 plus million. Everybody else should make 15 to 20 if you're good. If you're like, middle range guy, so I don't know, maybe 8 to 22, you should make like 15 to 20, which is a ridiculous amount of money. But if you bring a Pro Bowl thing in there and say, on my Twitter account has 4 million viewers and I got 4 million votes for the Pro Bowl, so now I'm in the Pro Bowl, all of a sudden you get bumped up like literally millions of dollars. So that you'd think like, Mike, that's ridiculous. These guys are basing everything off tape. No, they're not. They're not basing everything off tape. They base part of it on tape. Like your personnel guy has to like the guy you're bringing in, but if he's a name, if he has a Pro Bowl, if he, in the case of some teams, if he can add, like this happens a ton in other sports, particularly soccer, your social media value has value now for like contractual value for the team you're going to. If you're going to add 7 million followers to that team, oh, believe me, they're going to pay you a little bit more to show up, regardless if your on-field production is at the level of some of your peers. So it's kind of a weird thing. Here's the other thing with the Pro Bowl. So it's in Las Vegas right now, and I'm going, dude, I used to live in Vegas. I had a great time in the offseason in Vegas. Mike Flanagan and I lived right down the street from one another back in the day in Vegas. We had good times on the weekends, trained hard during the week, had good times on the weekends. So I've seen kind of a lot that there is to see in Vegas. I'm going to say Mike Flanagan's seen more. I'll give him that. But I've seen a lot. Here are some of the events that they're replacing the game with. And I'm glad they're not playing the game anymore. They didn't need to play it, but I have other thoughts about that. Kick-tack-toe. For all the kicking fans watching worldwide, now some of the kickers are going to play kick-tack-toe. Water balloon tossing. So you're going to have these professional athletes do water balloon tossing. We're going to televise that. There's a rope pull because they want to move the chain. So they're going to have 3 guys pulling a rope, which is kind of like strongman, which I like a little bit, I guess. And dodgeball. If ESPN, ABC, whoever's doing these games, if they get ratings, like if they're in the top 100, I'm moving to a place with no cable TV. I give up. But you're in luck. NFL, I hope you're listening. I live in Vegas. I think you should keep doing it in Vegas. It makes total sense. They have everything you want there at your fingertips. They have great restaurants. They have attractions. They have people. They have celebrities. They have shows. They have events. Everything you want. Here's what you could do while you're in Vegas for these NFL athletes. Remember, you've got like 50 alpha males sitting in rooms together. They're competitive, but they want to relax. They want to have a good time. Here's some ideas. Number one, have a high-stakes poker game. World Series of Poker is right down the street. Join in. Have your own. Skydiving out near Grand Canyon. You could have guys perform in a Cirque du Soleil show. You could guest star in like Flipping Vegas or Counting Cars, any one of those deals. You could have an eating contest at one of the millions of all-you-can-eat buffet restaurants, seafood or otherwise, on the Strip. I'm talking high-end places, by the way, guys. This would be a worthwhile affair. I would sit there and watch somebody in an all-you-can-eat buffet contest with some of these offensive, defensive linemen. There's tattoo places. You could have Pro Bowl tattooing. That's something I would watch. What's that show? Oh, God, something Inc. They used to do a ton of these shows, a ton of these tattoo shows. That would be a fantastic idea. Or what? How about this? There's improvs everywhere in Las Vegas. How about an improv comedy competition? I mean, any of these things would be more fun than watching two guys toss a water balloon back and forth, hoping it doesn't spill. All right, enough of that. Let's do a Super Bowl early preview. And I got a couple different things I wanted to talk about today. So I did Block Party a couple days ago. I'm going to go through a little bit of that and kind of show you what, from an offensive and defensive line standpoint, the Eagles are kind of working with. But right now, that week before the week you get there, you have media day, and then you're just kind of fine-tuning. So the coaching staff is putting together this game plan. And one of the concerns, obviously, is you put together this claim, it's like you have too much time. You now have 2 weeks when you only had one. So what is the coaching staff thinking about right now? Do they have a tendency to overthink this situation? Or are we just going to really hyper-focus on a certain, just run the same show that we run every week, knowing that next week you're traveling, fanfare, media day, all the extra stuff, all the things pulling at you, all the tickets, everything. We're just trying to keep it normal. So we're going to get all our work done now and just try to enjoy the moment, be present, be relaxed, be the best version of yourself. What are the matchups that coaching staffs are going to be thinking before right now? I think there's a couple that I highlighted. Number one, for the Kansas City Chiefs, how to keep Patrick Mahomes clean against the Hassan Reddick and company for the Philadelphia Eagles. And I've talked about this a couple times because I think the interior line for the Kansas City Chiefs versus that five-man rotation for the Philadelphia Eagles is really the matchup to watch. I don't personally think that Andrew Wahle is going to do a good job against Hassan Reddick if he's left one-on-one, so they're going to have to throw bodies at him, whether they're going to throw Noah Gray at him, the tight end, whether they're going to just slide out Trey Smith, the right guard. Hassan Reddick he's on one right now. If you watch that last game, we'll show it a little bit. He's not worried. He'll make a tackle on the runner on the way to the quarterback, but he's rushing the quarterback almost every play, especially early in the game. But you look at Joe Thuney, the guy, the Pro Bowl player. I think he's an All-Pro that came over from the New England Patriots with Andrew Scarnecchia, the great coach. He's now playing for the Kansas City Chiefs at left guard. Obviously, they drafted Creed Humphrey. I know everybody in Green Bay land knows the name Creed Humphrey because he's an option that I think we did have and decided to go against. I think he's now first or second year All-Pro. And then Trey Smith was a really, really high-level player that came in the 6th round of last year's draft pick. I think everybody projected him higher. He dropped. He fell to the Kansas City Chiefs. He's been playing at a high level. And now, obviously, you have Orlando Brown outside on the left. So he's going to be going against Josh Sweat. That's a great matchup. Wiley and Hassan Reddick is going to be a tough matchup. That's the one to watch. So it's like, how are we going to manipulate that so Mahomes isn't running for his life? Hassan Reddick is a real threat, but interior from a defensive line standpoint, I'm going to start with the guy that's going to be a free agent this year. It's lost my train of thought. Javon Hargrave. I think Javon Hargrave entered into last week's game with 11 sacks on the season. He's been playing at a ridiculous level. Obviously, you have Fletcher Cox. You have backups in Ndamukong Suh and Joseph Linval Joseph, and then either Brandon Graham or Josh Sweat and nickel can come in and play that 3 technique. So you really, when you think about how the Chiefs operate, they can run. And I know they run at some 12 personnel. But if you want to get into this passing game scenario where you have, you kind of look at Juju Smith-Schuster and MVS and Bradbury and Darius Slay being like all pro level guys, I'm going to kind of cancel those guys out. I'm not saying they're not going to get any catches, but I think if you're the Eagles, you're like, I feel pretty good about that. But it's like, how are we going to guard for the Chiefs, it's like, how are we going to take care of those five guys internally? Focus a little more on Hassan Reddick. And then from the Eagles' perspective, how are we going to stop Kelsey? Because one of the keys to this game has to be Travis Kelsey, I think, getting targeted like 20 times. Like, in order for the Chiefs to win this game, Kelsey's going to have to get like 20 targets. I don't know if he's going to get 20 catches, but 4 catches probably isn't enough. 7 catches, even 10 catches or 10 targets, probably isn't enough. Just because of the power they have outside. This team, the Philadelphia Eagles defensive front, has 8 sacks in the postseason. They had 70 sacks in the regular season. They're just on one right now. And I think they were number 3 in turnover ratio, in the turnover margin during the course of the season, and this is how they get them. You saw what happened against the San Francisco 49ers. So it's like Patrick Mahomes is going to be on the mend. He'll probably be close to 100% as he's been all season by the time the Super Bowl rolls around. But more importantly, how do you get Travis Kelsey, who he loves to look? He'll look at him first and then go second, third read and then go back to him. But how do you get him enough looks? Because against this defense, you think about the different people they could possibly be guarding. Avonte Maddox, the nickelback. They could go with Gardner Johnson, the safety. Now against George Kittle, the San Francisco 49ers, great tight end, who's my favorite tight end in the National Football League. They went with the will linebacker White, and then they also went with Gardner Johnson, especially early in the game against Kittle. That game kind of devolved, so we don't know what that would have looked like over the course of time. But Kelsey's much more of he's a slot receiver. He's a pass-catching tight end. He is not a George Kittle where, if he's in the box, you better bring down people because he's going to block people. Kelsey's, they're going to do a lot of the same kind of stuff that you see with, even you see with Tunyon sometimes where they're just going to free release him and try to get eyes on him to throw that hot route on the flat. They're going to use Kelsey a lot more as a decoy in the run game. They're not going to get him mixed up too much with the big guys, and then they're going to use him for what he's best at, and that's receiving and getting yards after catch. So I think those two kind of matchups, one for the Eagles, one for the Kansas City Chiefs, are like my favorite things to look at. But then the other side of this too is you have Kelsey on one side, you have Jalen Hurts on the other, and Jalen Hurts makes the Philadelphia Eagles a true 11-man football team on offense. So how do you account, if you're the Philadelphia Eagles, or the Kansas City Chiefs, how do you account for Jalen Hurts? And Steve Spagnuolo, the defensive coordinator for the Kansas City Chiefs, he has historically been kind of a blitz guy, and Hurts isn't necessarily great against the blitz. So that's something you can kind of close your eyes and think about them doing. They're not afraid to play man or match against really anybody in the National Football League. I think because the Philadelphia Eagles have such talent at every position. Like I said this last week, the Philadelphia Eagles offense doesn't really have a guy that you're trying to hide. And you really can't say that. I'm going to just look at I'm talking about on offense. You really can't say that about a lot of football teams. Like you think about the Green Bay Packers for Packer fans out there watching. Think about the guys on offense that you're generally just trying to hide, that you don't feel confident with. I'm going to go through the Philadelphia Eagles starting offense. Every single one of these could be a Pro Bowl player. A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, Jordan Mailata, Landon Dickerson, Jason Kelsey, All-Pro, Isaac Semola, Lane Johnson, All-Pro, Dallas Goedert would be a Pro Bowler, Jalen Hurts, All-Pro. Did he make all? I think he made all. And then Miles Sanders, Pro Bowler. Every single one of those guys. This is like the 2003, 2004 Green Bay Packers offense. What every single one of those guys, except for maybe Tauscher, because at that time, right tackles didn't get respect. But he should have been and could have been very easily been a Pro Bowl player. Every one of those guys went to the Pro Bowl at some point in their career. Like every one of those starters, you just have talent. And so with the Chiefs, when you look at this defense, you're like, okay, well, maybe we're just going to send Jalen Hurts heat because he historically doesn't handle heat that well. The Philadelphia Eagles have just places where they can hurt you at every single level. They can hurt you in the running game. They can hurt you in the RPO game. They can hurt you in the drop back passing game. They can hurt you in the screen game. They can hurt you in the bubble screen game, the wide receiver screen game with the tight ends, the tackles, and the guards getting out. When I think about the Kansas City Chiefs defense, last week, Chris Jones, obviously that was his game. He had 2 sacks, 3 tackles for loss, 5 quarterback hits. They had, George Kalafdis had made plays. Mike Dana made a couple plays early in the game, but in particular, number 51 played great. Frank Clark had 2 sacks. Frank Clark's had kind of a resurgence in this last couple of weeks, but they're not going to have that kind of success against the Philadelphia Eagles offense. We talked about it ad nauseum. Like Trent Williams is a great player. The rest of the San Francisco 49ers offensive line isn't great. These guys are all great. I mean, they're not good, they're great. And so when you look at how you attack this team, Nick Bolton's a great player. You know, Gay's had some success. I know he had the sack this weekend. I think he got hurt after that. But you're just looking at this at every level. Like, where do we go? Justin Reed's a good player. It's okay. You just start going down the line. Trent McDuffie, the first round draft pick, he had a great week last week. Is he going to be able to have that same kind of week against this talent? Who's he going to match up against? Because they're very comfortable going 12-13 and either getting him out of the game or matching him up against a tight end. He's no match for Goddard. He's too big. So this is going to be a fun game for those reasons. But this is really when you start looking at the cream of the crop in the National Football League. I look at the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm like, this is as well constructed a roster as you can find. And the Kansas City Chiefs, like usually when you look at these games, a lot of people will just say, if this was like basketball, you'd be like, well, who's the best player on the field? And everybody has to say Patrick Mahomes. It's true. But the default would be, well, Patrick Mahomes is going to make enough plays to win the game. And he still might. He did last week. But this Philadelphia Eagles team is really, really good top to bottom. There's no weaknesses. And it's tough for me to understand how the Kansas City Chiefs are going to stop them. Let's take a look at a couple of these things on tape because I just want to drive home a point. So you look at All-Pro Lane Johnson. One thing that Jalen Hurts does that really helps this Philadelphia Eagles team from a pocket presence standpoint is when he backs up and when he gets into his drop, he doesn't take that step forward. So usually it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 1, 2, 3, and then they kind of take a hitch step forward, and it looks like the pocket actually looks like it's closer because it is. They've taken a half step, which is like half a yard closer to the guards in the center. He doesn't do that. He stands at depth, and what that does, it does two things. It allows that depth and that feeling of openness when you watch their pocket. And two, the tackles can now set like they should be setting as square to the line of scrimmage as possible for as long as possible, and they can back up a little bit more and keep that angle. They don't have to turn their bodies. And when you're able to do that against great players, so you're thinking about this weekend, Chris Jones, Frank Clark, Bosa right here. He gets all the way 3 steps up before he can get into his rush. Lane Johnson can stay square so he doesn't have an edge to take, and Bosa's got to take him down the middle. Now, all game, like Bosa's a great player, and Lane Johnson's is 6'5", 325-pound guy. So if you win with your footwork, if you win with your body position, Lane Johnson's going, look, I know Bosa's great, and he's going to feel the same way about everybody he plays against. He goes, I might not be able to play the hands game, the leverage game, but I can play the body position game and get in front of this guy because Jalen Hurts is so consistent with how he drops. This is what I'm talking about. You just see the surge on the offensive line. You've got 2 double teams here, and the double team on the right between Kelsey and the right guard doesn't even work. But because the double team on the left is like literally pushes Kinlaw 5 yards off the ball and puts Fred Warner in a bind, 57 Greenlaw should make this play immediately. This is just the first series, guys. This is the second play of the game. Greenlaw should... 9 times out of 10, Greenlaw makes the play in the hole here at the line of scrimmage. He's holding, 1, because it hurts his capabilities. He's got to sit back and read. And 2, because they got people running at him right now. And it's a hard pill to swallow if you're a linebacker. And this is the problem that the Chiefs are going to have all day long. I'm going to skip past this one. If you're appreciative of line play, Jason Kelsey, the way he comes off the ball, even though this doesn't work out, what it does to freeze everybody, because he just comes so hard over there. Now the back has to end up picking up Bosa, and Lane Johnson comes back. Lane Johnson just decided this game, hey, Bosa's not making any plays. I'm following him all over the yard. It was fantastic. But the way that they move that center in particular really does a job on freezing the second-level linebackers. Again, we talk about it. Jalen Hurts does not take that hitch step up, so you just see the space in front of him, and it just feels like from a pocket presence standpoint, if he took that half step, that half hitch up like everybody else in the league does, all of a sudden he feels like maybe the depth of the pocket isn't what it should be. This looks great. It feels great for him. He's not nervous about it. And Lane Johnson right here, he's catching Bosa, but again, he wins with body position. So he doesn't win with hands. He doesn't win necessarily the leverage game, but he wins with his feet. He's in the right body position. And now, even though he's going to get pulled back here, because he's got Jalen Hurts, and this is the thing that Whether you're Chris Jones, whether you're Frank Clark, whether you're Mike Dana, you have this problem. If you put your head and bury it into the tackle, Jalen Hurts is going to escape. He can go up or he can go back, and he can do either one as well as anybody in the National Football League outside of maybe Lamar Jackson. And this happens right here. He escapes this. It doesn't really go for any yardage, but it's not a negative play. And that's the issue. If you pick a side, you have another issue because he'll just go the opposite way. It's very, very unique for a quarterback to be that strong, that fast, have that good accuracy in the passing game, that great an arm, and just have that pocket presence that this guy does. You could just tell this guy works and works and works at his craft. This is just another play Kelsey points out. This play shouldn't. This is how you know the game's going your way. When the left guard lets the A linebacker go, nothing matters. So we got double mug linebackers in both A gaps. I think they both bail. And this is what I'm talking about, Bosa. And this is what the Chiefs are watching this film and going, all right, what's our pass rush plan? What are we going to do against you? How are we going to account for the fact that he can exit anytime? Bosa thinks he can take inside. Lane Johnson's got him lined up. Bosa moves inside because he sees Jalen Hurts take a step. And what happens? The minute that he takes that step forward, I'm talking about back towards the line of scrimmage with Nick Bosa, Lane Johnson buries his right hand in his armpit, pins him down. Jalen Hurts escapes out to his right. And again, it's not a sack. It's a throwaway in this case, but it's not a negative play. So I think we go here. Got the double A look again. They bail early. He's not dropping anywhere. He's not hitching up. He's not taking an extra step. So when you look at from a pocket presence standpoint, it's just so easy for these guys to deliver ball and feel confident about what they're doing. And listen, success breeds confidence over and over. I think we got motion to empty here. This is the fourth down play. Everybody's seen the catch. But again, you see how we'll show it on the end zone copy. Great job here by Smith. And obviously, now demonstrating with his hands together that, hey, this wasn't a catch. We better get this down. Now watch the left tackle. As soon as you bury your head, and this is the Chiefs. This is the problem. What do we do? If we bull like this, Hurts is immediately out. So what do we do? How do we account for this? How do we count? If I go high, he goes low. If I bull, he goes either direction. If I go low, he goes high. This is a real issue. When we talk about pass rush plans, it was made famous by Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick and the Patriots had pass rush plans for specific guys if they didn't want to roll them right, didn't want to roll them left. Very, very few defensive coordinators, defensive line coaches in the league had these for years and years. They're starting to build them out now because they find out the guys like Ryan Tannehill doesn't throw as good to his left as he rolls out to his right. They have ideas about where they want to go when they want to escape. And you take that away, some of these guys get nervous. But Jalen Hurts can go either direction, north, south, east, or west. And now you see, I think what might happen with the Kansas City Chiefs. Both defensive ends are just kind of standing there going, this is the very next play, going, all right, well, what do we do now? They're out of ideas. And now this pocket never looked so good. And now everyone's sitting, the Philadelphia Eagles, man, this offensive line is amazing. Well, yeah, they are amazing. But Jalen Hurts' ability to evade really does a number on the psyche of here, the San Francisco 49ers, number one defense in the league. And next week, the Kansas City Chiefs, who give up 21 points a game. Did I have that right? 21 points a game? 21 points a game. So not bad, probably around middle of the league average. And they're spread out. This is the touchdown run. This is the first touchdown run. And you just look at this. They're in 11 personnel. They have trips right, tight end attached. They can run from this formation. And this is Packers fans. This is kind of where you want to get to. You sit in this formation and you just go, I could run probably, I don't know, if I hipped off that tight end, I could probably think of, honestly, 26 plays maybe off the top of my head that we could run right now that would just be effective. Now with the tight end attached and not hipped off, maybe a little bit less, but that's the kind of breadth of offense that the Eagles have right now with what they're able to do, especially with this quarterback. And it's just, you add all of that together. They bring one guy down the box because they're in the deep red zone now, but really they still have to account for everything that's going on outside. Hufanga's got to realize that, like, that's not a great matchup outside. And now you get these two double teams again, and it's just, I mean, it's literally all you can eat. Try to get this over to some Philadelphia Eagles tape here. If I can. I think I can right here. So now we talk about the Kansas City Chiefs and Hassan Reddick and the issues that they have. And he came into the game with 16 sacks, 17 and a half on the season now, after that just explosion that he had early in the game. This is what, if I'm the Kansas City Chiefs and I'm Andrew Wahle and I'm thinking about what I have to do, this is the first play of the game. So McGlinchey is a first-round draft pick from Notre Dame, right tackle. He's a good player. He'll be a free agent this year. He's a highly rated free agent. But, you know, first play of the game, you try to run out on this guy. Hey, I'm going to run out on this guy, and he's not going to understand because the tight end's there. It's like, he went inside, going to get a quarterback pressure on the first play of the game. Everyone else sees Kittle make that play. I see the right tackle get beat inside because now his mindset is going like, oh, goodness. And Wiley is watching this tape, and he's going, all right, if my landmark is poor, he's coming really tight off the tight end. If the tight end's going to inside release, like, I need to know that because he's going to come tight off that guy, and I'm going to overset it. If he's going to outside release, then I can come inside out. It's a little cleaner. But like all of this information he has to think about now. Maybe he doesn't think about that with most guys. And then unless his technique is perfect and automatic, now here's where you start making mistakes with your footwork. Let's just look at a couple plays here because these are the problems that they pose. So they're gonna bring Juszczyk in motion, and look, the Kansas City Chiefs have all of this stuff, right? They're capable of running all this stuff, pre-snap motion across the ball. They do a lot of this with the jet sweeps, and really Hassan Reddick is not thinking about any of it. If you just look at his trajectory, he is going towards the quarterback. Right? He'll tackle somebody on the way to the quarterback. And if he does this early and you don't take advantage, if you're not able to trap him, if you're not able to create holes where he was, and they're running that 5-down defensive line. This is a 3-4, but Sweat and Hassan Reddick, really, to me, guys, they're stand-up defensive ends. I just call this a 5-2. It's easier for me to just think about it that way. But you got three massive defensive tackles, guys that can really play ball, that can eat up space. All of these guys have been Pro Bowl players or should be in the case of Javon Hargraves. If they're not, and now you got a guy outside, really two guys, but one guy outside in particular that's just deadly in the pass rush game. We'll go a couple more here just to kind of show you. So now you got the hipped off tight ends. You got 81 off of George Kittle on the line. We're going motion again with CMC. Now he's going in for the stab bull. Got him up on 1 foot. This is the kind of stuff you got to look at. You have 5-on-5. You know, you're going to assume, if you're the Kansas City Chiefs, Josh Sweat and Orlando Brown's going to be a good matchup. You know, I know Orlando Brown gets a lot of praise and he gets a lot of Pro Bowl votes and everything. Like, Josh Sweat's a good player. This is going to be a good matchup. Interior, are you able to go one-on-one with all these guys? Linval Joseph's not going to be that much of a pass threat. 97 Hargraves is problems. Like, he is problems. Fletcher Cox is getting up in years. He's still problems. Still a great player. But most importantly, if you're going to do this and you don't keep in a Noah Gray, if you don't keep your running back into chip, you just run swing, you are one-on-one with probably a top 3 pass rusher in the league this year. On what I would consider your weakest link from an offensive line pass protection standpoint. Huge consideration in this game. And as you can tell, I'm trying to demonstrate or accentuate with Reddick. He is not concerned about anything but getting to the quarterback. He sees this late. He'll try to make a play in the backfield. He's relying on the rest of the team to be aggressive to the ball, and he's just saying, hey, look, they are not going to have time to get this ball off, especially with Brock Purdy. This might be different with Patrick Mahomes. I doubt it. I doubt his mentality changes because he's going to want to make those plays in the Super Bowl that he's making right now. You go hipped off again, you bring motion in, and now you got a problem. And this is what really, what I see as being the issue. And again, we talk about just from let's just pretend for the sake of argument that this isn't the tight end and this is the tackle. The problem is the same. For fans of trench warfare and pass rush out there, this is just a geometry problem. If you engage somebody at the line of scrimmage and they have any kind of edge on you, Hassan Reddick now, if he has outside leverage, you can see this tight end's feet are wide, so he's going to be able to open up real fast. Meaning within one step or two steps, his chest is going to be facing 90 degrees clockwise of where he is right now. And he's going to be chasing. He's not going to be directing traffic here. Hassan Reddick only has to get about 6 yards of depth, and he has about 15 yards of width to do it. So just imagine, I got to get 6 yards ahead of where I am at right now, but I have 15 yards to run that loop. It's just a question of time. A defensive end, an outside linebacker, anybody who's a good rusher will take this matchup in this scenario with that footwork, with that leverage, every single time. If they get 39 of these a game, they're expecting to win, 20 times with 5 quarterback hits, 2 sacks, and 3 pressures. It's going to be that kind of game. This is an impossible scenario. We teach this, unfortunately, a lot at every level, college, high school, and the NFL. We teach these flat sets, these poor pass sets. This is just geometry, guys. This is geometry. As soon as you understand that from a defensive end standpoint, outside swim, bang, maybe he gets rid of the ball, maybe he doesn't, but it is a matter of time. And that's setting the tone. That's really, when I look at the matchups here early, before really diving into this stuff, those are the considerations. We have some secondary issues. We talked about Kelsey. We talked about the interior of that offensive line. We talked about how to account for Jalen Hurts. Both these teams are tied for first in the National Football League. They're both averaging 28 points per game. This is going to be a high scoring affair. I don't think this is one of those Super Bowls where they're going to try to feel each other out. The Eagles are giving up 18 points per game on defense versus the Kansas City Chiefs 21. Eagles have all those turnovers. Number 3 in turnover margin, 78 sacks this year. This is going to be a fantastic matchup. If you're a Green Bay Packers fan, what I'm looking at is there's a handful of free agents. And let's say Wahle shows, there's a handful of free agents in this game. There's a handful of free agents coming up. Are we still looking, where are we looking to backfill our team? We talked about it a little bit from a roster standpoint last week. I'll tell you what, let's get into that with the bond later on. Pro Bowl weekend is this weekend. I hope you don't watch because I don't want the ratings to be high because I don't want to have to move unless they, of course, do the comedy improv. I'm your host, Mike Wahle. Follow me at MikeWahle68 on Twitter, Process to Perform on Instagram. Subscribe and like this. Hope you guys are enjoying. Enjoy the weekend. We'll be back on Monday, and we'll start doing a little bit more of a film breakdown and a preview show with everything there is to know about these guys. Until then, have a great weekend. Go Pack Go.